Today I'm going to make this Halloween prop. It is a roadkill animal. A floppy looking rabbit maybe? So let's get started. Welcome to Festive Farmstead's Haunted Edition. The first thing you're going to need is some kind of a fake fur. I got these two pillow covers. I got two of them for $1.50 each, and I think they're going to work just about perfect. I also am going to use my favorite glue, a little piece of pool noodle, some fake blood. I love the Manic Panic blood, but you can use whatever you prefer, or even paint. I'm going to use some brown paint too to make it look dirty, and some of this Bloody Mary paint, blood spritz, and a pair of scissors. The first thing that I want to do is cut the back of this off. I only want one layer. I really don't want the side with the zipper on it. You could save the zipper if you're good at sewing zippers onto something else, but I'm only going to use the top half of it. After I've cut this off, I am going to have a square that's 18 by 18 inches, and I think that's going to be about the perfect size for what I want to do today. I'm going to fold it in half so that both sides are cut equally. And then I'm going to cut out what's going to be the legs and the head of the animal. I'm going to go in about 3 inches with my first cut, and I'm going to cut it almost all the way up, within a couple inches of the top of where the fold's at on the fabric. And I'm going to do the same thing in the front for the head, and then another 3 inches in for the other leg. And that's when I realized my camera died. So I'll back up a little bit here and show you what I did. I've already got glue on that, but if I pull it apart, it'll give the glue a chance to get tacky, and it works a little better that way anyway. So I have a 3-inch cut in the back for the back legs, a 3-inch cut in the front where I'm going to put the head, and another 3-inch cut for the front legs. Can you kind of see what's going on here? I'm going to fold this out of the way, and that might make it easier for you to see what I've done. And I put the glue on there, and I rolled it up so that will glue together like that. I did the same thing with the front legs. I put glue on them, and I'm going to roll them up so that they stick together. I'm not sure if you can see what I'm doing here, but the front part is going to be the head, and the middle section there is going to be the front legs. There, I'll fold it over, and that might make it easier for you to tell what I'm doing. Is it starting to look like an animal to you? I hope so. So it'll take a couple hours for this type of glue to dry. It's very easy to work with. I don't use the foaming Gorilla Glue. I use the non-foaming, and for this type of project that works great. Gives you lots of time to work with it, and it's easy to clean up too. You can kind of see where the head's going to be, the body, and the legs. I'll come back after that's dry. Okay, this has had a couple hours to dry. I'm going to put some gloves on now because this Manic Panic stuff and this glue is a little bit hard to get off from your fingers. The Manic Panic fake blood is actually very resistant to weather. I guess before I put the Manic Panic on, I want to put the pool noodle in there for the body. So I'm going to see probably about 2 inches, 2.5 inches for the head. I'm going to cut the pool noodle there. And then I'm going to use the other piece for the body. I'm not going to cut off any of that fabric. I'm going to go ahead and put the glue on the whole fabric and just wrap it around the pool noodle. That way I can probably cover up the front of it there and cover up the entire pool noodle so it's hidden underneath there. I'm not going to use any pins or needles or anything to hold this together because this roadkill might be close to the trail and I don't want to get anything into the tires. That would really put a hiccup in the giddy up for our hayride if we got a flat tire. So I'm going to do this without using anything to hold it in place. So it'll take a few minutes again for it to dry, a couple hours actually for it to dry again. And that'll be my head. And I've got my front legs. And I'll do the same thing for the body. I'm going to put the glue on there. I'm going to be generous with it. I love this glue. Wipe it off so it doesn't plug up the end and wrap it around. You don't have to be in a hurry. As a matter of fact, if you take a little bit of time, the glue gets a little more tacky and sticks a little bit better. So go ahead and mess with it until you're satisfied with how it's put together. Once again, here's my back legs, my head, and my front legs. Is it starting to look like some sort of animal? Let's give this a couple hours to dry. I put the gloves on really for the manic panic. The glue's easy to wash off, but I'm going to give this a little time to dry. So I'll take these gloves off and use the same ones later. And probably save this paper towel and use it again later too. I really am not a big fan of one-time use products, but I don't have water in my shop, so you'll see me using wet wipes a lot, and then I save them and use them for stuffing on a lot of things. Now this is dried for a couple of hours. I'm going to put some plastic under it. I really don't care if I get this plywood dirty with fake blood, but I try to keep it a little bit clean. You do want to wear gloves. If you don't wear gloves, you want to be careful not to get the manic panic on your fingers because you will go to work or school tomorrow with pink fingers. It really doesn't wash off very easy. I'm going to spritz it first with some of this Bloody Mary. Just give it some spots of splatter. Try to be random. I tend to end up making a pattern when I do things like this, but I'll try to make it as random as possible. And I think I'll put that directly on my gloves. As you can see, the consistency of this is very similar to really coagulated blood. And I'm just gonna throw that, rub it around wherever I think this little animal needs it. Poor thing. I hope this doesn't look like your pet. I apologize if it does. Perhaps some more rough looking fur would have looked a little bit more like a wild animal. If that makes you feel better, you can use something like that. You decide how much blood you want to put on there. Enough to make it look creepy, but still recognizable. Now I'm going to let that dry also. Then I'll put the brown paint on there to make it look a little dirty too. But I'll let this dry first. I'll put a little bit more on. I think it needs some underneath here. I'm going to apply it directly on there this time and try rubbing it around. Oh yeah, I like that. Okay, now I'm getting the effect I want. Very creepy. There we go. I'll be right back. I think I'll let this dry for a couple of hours. Now I'm back with this brown paint. I probably should have put some gloves back on because this is acrylic paint. It's a little hard to wash off my hands, but not as hard to get off as the Manic Panic. So I did end up getting some on my fingers, but it will wash off. And then I decided to put a little on the paws. Make it look like the animal's been running around in the mud maybe. And that's when I got it on my fingers. Oh well. Brown paint on my fingers is not as bad as blood on my fingers. That's not good. And we'll let that dry. That doesn't take quite as long to dry, maybe about half an hour to an hour. It should be set up pretty good. And there we have it. The final product of the roadkill animal. I was going to lay this alongside the trail that we do the hayride on. It's got this nice floppy head. It looks pretty dead. But after thinking about it for a while, I thought it might be a little small and hard to see out there in the woods, so I might end up putting it in the mouth of an animal. We'll see.